The Supreme Court just handed down a massive 9-0 decision that might be the biggest turning point for your rights we have ever seen. This was a total blowout that caught everyone off guard because it shows the justices are finally losing their patience with the government. This is not just some dry legal talk or a small win for a single person in a courtroom. It is a loud and clear warning that the rules of the game have changed for every gun owner in America right now. If you carry a gun for protection or even just keep one at home for your family, this ruling hits you directly in your daily life. It is about how the government can target you, how they can pressure companies to silence you, and how they can use the system to bury your rights. Many people are looking at the headlines and thinking this is only about a single state official or a specific group. They are completely missing the bigger picture of how this stops a dangerous new trend of backdoor gun control. The case is National Rifle Association of America versus Vullo, and it was decided just recently by a unanimous Supreme Court. Even the most liberal justices joined the most conservative ones to say that what happened here was a flat-out violation of the First Amendment. But do not let the words First Amendment fool you into thinking this is not a Second Amendment victory. This case proves that the government cannot use one part of the law to bully people out of exercising their other rights. I am going to break down exactly what happened in this case and why the 9-0 vote is such a huge deal for the future of your carry permits and your privacy. We will look at the secret tactics the government was using to bankrupt groups they do not like and how this ruling shuts that door. By the time we are done, you will see why this is the most important legal shield you have gained in years. You need to understand this right now because the other side is already trying to find a way around it. Staying ahead of these massive legal shifts is exactly what serious and informed citizens do to protect themselves and their families. If you want to make sure you are never caught off guard by a sudden change in the law, hit the subscribe button and join us. We track these cases in real time so you can stay one step ahead of the people trying to restrict your basic rights. Information is your best defense, and being part of this community ensures you always have the latest facts before anyone else. The story starts in New York, where a high-ranking official named Maria Vullo decided to use her power to go after the NRA. She did not just pass a law or make a public speech about why she disagreed with their mission. Instead, she went behind the scenes to the insurance companies and banks that did business with the group. She told these private companies that they should reconsider their relationship with gun rights organizations because of the social risks involved. It was a subtle threat that everyone understood meant trouble if they did not comply. Think of it like a local official telling your landlord that it would be a shame if their building inspections started failing because they rent to someone like you. Vullo used her office to put a financial squeeze on a group she did not like, hoping to starve them of the money they need to exist. The Supreme Court looked at this and said it was a classic example of government coercion. Coercion is just a legal word for using threats or pressure to force someone to do what you want. This ruling is a massive blow to the idea that the government can do indirectly what it is forbidden from doing directly. The government cannot ban you from speaking, and they cannot ban you from owning a gun in most cases. So they tried a new trick by making it impossible for gun groups to get insurance or process bank payments. Justice Sonia Sotomayor wrote the opinion, and she was very clear that this kind of bullying is a direct attack on the foundations of our freedom. The court found that when a government official uses their power to threaten a private business into dropping a client, they are breaking the law. It does not matter if the official claims they are just worried about public safety or corporate responsibility. If the goal is to punish a group for their political views or their support of a constitutional right, it is a foul. This 9-0 win means that from California to New York, these secret blacklists have to stop immediately. What do you think about the government using banks and insurance companies to target gun owners and advocacy groups? Does it worry you that an official could try to shut down your favorite local range or shop just by making a phone call? Drop a comment below and let me know if you have seen this kind of pressure happening in your own state. Also, hit that like button if you think the Supreme Court made the right call by keeping the government out of our private business. Now, we need to talk about why this is a turning point that goes way beyond just insurance for a big organization. This ruling creates a massive legal shield for every single person who supports the Second Amendment. For years, we have seen banks suddenly close the accounts of gun shops or credit card companies try to track ammo purchases. Those companies often claim they are doing it on their own, but we often find out later that government officials were whispering in their ears. This case gives us the power to drag those secret conversations into the light of a courtroom. It means that if a state governor or a federal agency tells a bank to stop working with the firearms industry, they are on the hook for a lawsuit. This shuts down a very sneaky form of gun control that does not require a single new law to be passed. It protects the entire ecosystem that allows you to buy, train with, and carry your firearms without the government tracking your every move through your bank. Here's where it gets even more interesting for you as an individual gun owner. Think about the way some states are trying to force people to get special liability insurance just to have a carry permit. If the government makes it impossible for companies to offer that insurance, they are effectively banning your right to carry without ever saying it. This ruling says they cannot play those games by pressuring the market to disappear. It keeps the channels of commerce open for everyone, regardless of what the politicians think about your hobby or your defense. This is a huge win, but there is a hidden consequence that most people are totally missing right now. While the court was unanimous on the First Amendment issue, this sets a massive precedent that will bleed into every Second Amendment case from here on out. It shows that the court is looking at the big picture of how rights are suppressed in the modern world. If you want to see how this hidden layer of the law is going to change the fight for your rights next year, you need to stay tuned. Make sure you are subscribed because we are going to be tracking how lower courts use this ruling to strike down other restrictive laws very soon. The momentum is shifting, and you do not want to be the last person to find out how these new rules affect your local carry laws. We are building a community here of people who actually read the fine print of these rulings. Subscribe now so you can keep your edge and stay informed as the legal landscape moves faster than ever before. Let's look at what this means for you in the real world with some actual scenarios you might face. Imagine you are at a gun show or a local shop and you notice that they suddenly stopped taking credit cards. Or maybe you hear that a local training facility had its insurance canceled for no clear reason. Before this ruling, those businesses were often left out in the cold with no way to fight back against the government pressure. Now they have a Supreme Court case they can point to and say that the government is breaking the rules. This protects your ability to actually use your rights, because a right you cannot afford, or access, is not really a right at all. If the government can make it so expensive or difficult to buy a holster or a box of shells, they have won. This case stops them from using the administrative state as a weapon against your wallet. It ensures that when you go to the store, the only thing that matters is the law on the books, not a secret memo from a politician to a bank CEO. Consider another scenario where you are trying to renew your concealed carry permit in a state that is hostile to gun owners. Some officials have tried to use their power to tell local businesses that they should not allow people with permits on their property. They might even hint that the business will have an easier time with permits or licenses if they put up "No Guns Allowed" signs. This ruling makes it clear that the government cannot use that kind of leverage to push a private company into doing their dirty work for them. It also protects your privacy in a way that we are just starting to understand. If a government agency pressures a tech company to hand over data on who is looking at gun tutorials or who is visiting pro-Second Amendment websites, that is coercion. This case gives lawyers a very strong tool to stop that kind of digital surveillance before it starts. It draws a line in the sand and tells the government that they must stay in their lane and stop trying to control the culture through the back door. The bigger issue here is that the government has been trying to treat the Second Amendment like a second-class right for decades. They think that because they can regulate some parts of it, they can use any trick in the book to make it disappear. This 9-0 vote is a rare moment of total agreement that says all rights are connected. If they can silence a gun group today, they can silence a religious group or a protest group tomorrow. That is why this case is so powerful for every American. I want to clear up some myths that are already spreading online about this ruling because people are getting it wrong. The first myth is that this case only helps the NRA and does not matter for the average person. That is completely false because the rule the court created applies to every single government official in the country. It protects the small local shop and the individual instructor just as much as it protects the big national organizations. The principle of the law is what matters here, not the name on the lawsuit. Another myth is that this ruling somehow makes all gun laws unconstitutional or that it solves the insurance problem forever. That is not true either. The court did not say that insurance regulations are illegal in general. They said that using those regulations as a weapon to target a specific viewpoint is illegal. It is a subtle difference, but it is an important one for staying on the right side of the law. You still have to follow the rules, but the government can no longer rig the rules against you in secret. The third big myth is that this was just a free speech case and has nothing to do with guns. While it is true that the First Amendment was the main focus, you cannot separate speech from the thing people are speaking about. In this case, the government was attacking the speech of people who defend the Second Amendment. By protecting that speech, the court is protecting the ability of gun owners to organize, educate, and defend their rights in the public square. Without the right to talk about guns and fund gun rights groups, the Second Amendment would be defenseless. Let's talk about what happens next, because this is where the next big fight starts in the lower courts. Right now, there are several states trying to implement social credit-style systems for businesses that deal with firearms. They want to give state contracts only to banks that agree not to lend money to the gun industry. After this Supreme Court ruling, those programs are on very shaky legal ground. We are likely to see a wave of new lawsuits challenging these discriminatory practices across the entire country. We are also going to see this ruling cited in cases involving social media censorship. If a government agency was pressuring a platform to ban accounts that show gun safety videos, this case is now the primary weapon to stop it. It creates a paper trail that officials will have to answer for in front of a judge. This is the part that should worry the politicians who think they are above the law. They can no longer hide behind suggestions or informal advice to private companies when their goal is to suppress a constitutional right. This is a major shift in how we fight for our rights, because it moves the battle from the legislature to the administrative offices. For a long time, we were focused only on what laws were being passed in the state capitals. But this case shows that a lot of the damage is being done by unelected bureaucrats in office buildings. Now that we have a 9-0 ruling from the highest court, those bureaucrats are finally on notice. They have to follow the Constitution just like everyone else, or they will face the consequences in court. I want you to think about how this affects your own sense of security and your family's future. When the government can secretly pressure banks to track your spending or insurance companies to drop your coverage, it creates a climate of fear. You might start wondering if buying that new holster or signing up for that training class is going to put a target on your back. This ruling is meant to take that fear away and remind you that your rights are not subject to the whims of a government official. It is about the dignity of being a citizen who can exercise their rights without being bullied by the state. You should be able to support the causes you believe in and own the tools you need for self-defense without a government agent trying to bankrupt the companies you use. This ruling is a return to the idea that the government works for us, not the other way around. It is a victory for the rule of law over the rule of secret memos and backroom threats. As we move forward into a very busy election year, keep an eye on how different candidates react to this ruling. The ones who are upset about it are the ones who want to keep using these secret tactics to control you. The ones who celebrate it are the ones who actually respect the limits placed on the government by the Bill of Rights. This case has drawn a very clear line in the sand, and it is up to us to make sure that line is never crossed again. In the end, this 9-0 decision is a massive win because it proves that our rights are not as fragile as we sometimes think. When all 9 justices agree on something, it sends a message that no politician can ignore. It shows that even in a divided country, there are still basic principles of freedom that we all agree on. That should give you a lot of hope for the future of the Second Amendment and the future of our country as a whole. To wrap this all up, remember the 3 biggest takeaways from this massive turning point. First, the government cannot use private companies like banks and insurance providers to bully you or the groups you support. Second, this ruling protects your privacy and your ability to participate in the firearms economy without secret government interference. And third, this is a universal win that sets a new standard for how all of our constitutional rights are protected from backdoor attacks. This matters in the long term because it closes a dangerous loophole that was being used to bypass the courts and the voters. It ensures that if the government wants to limit your rights, they have to do it out in the open where we can see it and fight it. This protects your family's safety by keeping the tools and resources you need for defense available and affordable. It is a huge step toward making sure the Second Amendment remains a vibrant and active part of American life for the next generation. You have stayed with me through this entire breakdown because you are the kind of person who refuses to stay uninformed. You know that the world is changing fast and that the people who understand the law are the ones who stay safe. This is not just about a court case. It is about the mission to protect our heritage and our freedom from those who would see it slip away. We are a community of responsible, alert citizens who believe that knowledge is the foundation of our strength. If you value these deep dives and want to make sure you never miss a major update on your rights, please subscribe to the channel right now. We are committed to giving you the truth without the political spin or the fluff you find on the news. Leave a comment below and let me know if this ruling makes you feel more confident about the future of your rights. We read every single comment, and your voice is a vital part of this conversation as we move forward together.